So there was a time when we were storing our information in a 1 or 2 MB floppy disk. I hope many of you have seen 20 years before or maybe 15 years before, we used to have a floppy disk drive on a computer. That was a small magnetic disk, and it was storing only 1 or 2 MB maximum data. But now you can see as time goes on, as time went on, now we had 80 GB, 500 GB, and now we are having 1 TB hard disk on our personal machine. And just imagine on the server, it's like the data is huge. So the data is being so huge, so we need to manage our data as well as data governance. So let us see how the database was introduced and what people were doing before database. So in early days of computing, around 1950s, many computers were only used for solving mathematical problems. So even when solving the mathematical problems, these people observed that some activities were common to many problems. So they decided to make a software. For example, we are continuously using sine operation, cos operation, and different mathematical operations. So instead of writing the code for every operation, they tried to build a software, and that software was made the work easier. So eventually, what happened? These mathematical operations they were later made into a small library package. So that's how software libraries came into picture. The repeating task, they made a software for that, and they combined different softwares and they made a library. So now people were used to using software libraries instead of writing separate code for each operation. So many applications they deal with numerical information, but after that, when they started using the softwares, they found that instead of numerical information, they were also working on non-numeric data, and that was becoming important. So not only the numerical data, but also the non-numerical data, such as text, the text information, they also become important. But then how to store those data and how to maintain them and how to retrieve them. So this became again a problem in 1950s. And again, there was some processing required for using this non-numerical data. So the computer companies started making softwares that carried out the frequently occurring tasks. Okay, so they made small softwares that were doing all the operations which were occurring frequently, and these tasks were normally like sort operation, merge operation, which we saw in data structures, and file processing tasks like read, write, update, and delete. So your many companies, the popular companies like IBM, they started making their own database systems. So in 1960s, the first database software was available in the market. These were called as Information Management System and Integrated Database Management System. So IMS was introduced by IBM, and they were selling this as a complete machine with database. Even today also some legacy systems, they are still using the IBM database. So now after 10 to 20 years, in 1980s, 1990s, many database management systems were introduced, many database softwares were introduced, and they were all working on a relational model. So now SQL has become the basic standard for working on database. Now let us see what is the difference between the file systems which were there already and when database system was introduced. The file system can be any normal file which normally we create on our machine. It can be a text file, it can be a doc file, or it can be a Excel file, any file which we normally create to store some information. And people were using these file systems before. Okay, so let us see how the file systems were there before database system was introduced. So you take an example. Uh, we had the player information about such as player name, country, the number of years he played, number of matches, total runs. So we can store all this information about the players in any single file. Okay, it can be a text file or it can be Excel file. So it becomes easier when we are working with a small amount of data. When the player list is very less, so we can easily, create a file and we can manage that file easily. And this file processing system, they use simple data structure, and they were using the index sequential access method, that is the ISAM, index sequential access method. So they used to, this method is used to get the contents of the file in a sequential order. So when I open the file, if you have done a programming, C programming, the last chapter, files and pointers. So whenever you open a file, the first character is read, right? The first character in the file is read, and then we apply a loop, and then we go for the next characters. So we are going in a sequential access method. So this method was used in file systems to store the information. Now this is quite convenient when we are working with less amount of data, but in this system, every application will carry its own file processing, even if two application programs are carrying a similar task. Now let us say we are making a small program and we are storing the information in a particular file. So we have one program for storing the player names, and we have another program for storing the player matches and all, and number of games he has played. So every application will perform its own file processing. So they will perform similar tasks, but they are doing independently. So this happens in file systems. So we can take one more example of university database, right? We saw the different tables which we can use in universities. Now just imagine if in our college we are using file systems to store information about students. So the admin department will store the information about student, fees and their documents and all. Okay, and the computer department, they will show the academic records. Okay, like the unit text marks and the final text marks, attendance and all. So do you think that both the departments, the admin and academic, they are working separately, even though the data is same, the number of students are same, but there is no connectivity, right? There is no connectivity, there is no relationship between these two departments. Because the reason is they are using file systems, they are using their own records to keep all the information updated. So even though they are doing the same thing, for example, if a student is going to change his address, so it will be changed in academic file also, it will be changed in admin file also. So that means two application programs are carrying a similar task, but again they are doing it separately. So this is not a very good approach when we are working with large number of students and the data is huge. Okay, so this is the drawback of file system, whereas compared to database system, this is not. Okay, I hope you have understood the difference between file and database. If somebody has any question, just let me know. Okay, so next point, on the other hand, the database system allows multiple users. Now what is the multiple users? That many people can access the database at the same time and they can carry out different tasks. So we can have a single database and we can have users from admin, and we can have users from computer department, we can have users from training and placement. So all different users will be having the access to the same database, that is the number of students. And at the same time, they can carry out different tasks. Somebody can update your personal records, somebody can update your academic records, somebody can update your placement records. So database system gives us this feature. file systems has number of advantages. For example, it is usually simple to insert or delete a record. And in a file system, if some changes are made to the structure of one or more files, the changes will affect all the application programs that use them. So when we are making changes to a file system, like we are adding some rows and we are adding some columns, so the changes will take effect on all the application programs that are accessing them. So on the other hand, if compared to database system, the structure of database is stored separately, and therefore that means the database is here we have an important property that is called as data independence. We will see this in detail in the next slides. So what is data independence? No, data is not dependent on the application system. Okay, so here the data is completely independent of the operating system as well as the application program. So here, whenever you are making changes to the structure of the database, it will not affect the application programs. So there it means, therefore, changes to data structure do not normally lead to changes to the application programs. So let us say if I take a column in as a roll number, okay, in my database, and initially I make it as int, that means it will store only integer values. It's okay, but later on if I change it to combination of integer and character, so we can take varchar. So what is varchar? Here you can store integer as well as character values. So this is the changes in the structure of the database. Now this will not affect your application program. The program is accessing your data. It will access whichever is the current value in your database. So in the application program, you don't need to worry about the structure of the database. So this is achieved in database system that we call as data independence. I hope you have understood the difference. Another difference is that the database can represent complex relationships. So here in normal file systems, there is no relationship between two files, right? I mean, we can create a relationship between database. I mean, in database, we can have relationship between different tables. Like we saw in the previous example, we can have relationship in player table, and we can have relationship in ODI batsman, and we can have relationship in ODI bowler. Okay. So we can have relationship between different tables in database, whereas in a file system it is not possible. We cannot create a complex relationships. And again, a database system can be accessed by multiple users, and it can be shared by many users, and many applications can use and it can provide facilities like security, integrity, recovery. Okay. And furthermore, in file system, there is a possibility that information can get duplicated. Like we said, in admin department and in academic department, information can get duplicated. And this can lead to redundancy and wastage of computer storage. So like we are storing the same files in two different places. So this will increase the storage on our computers, as well as it can also result in data inconsistency. So let us see the problems with file processing systems. So these are the list of problems. The first problem is information retrieval. So we cannot run a query to get some information from a database. For example, if I want to write a query to find who are the players who have scored more than 400 runs, I cannot do that query in my normal file. So that becomes a problem for me. Second point is integrity. So there is no way to check that the data is correct. Data can be duplicated, and we can have error data. So it is very difficult to catch mistakes in a file systems. And sometimes it is very difficult to do some updates. Okay, like the admin department has done some update, and if that is information is not conveyed in academic department, then the update becomes difficult. It becomes very difficult to keep a track of all the updates because people are doing it separately. So one system will have the updated version, the second might not have the latest version of update. So this is a problem with file system. And again, multiple users, we can have only one access to one file at one time. If you have seen, if you normally on a machine also, when we try to open any file, and if we don't try to close that file, we cannot copy that file to somewhere else. I hope you have been experienced this. Whenever you try to edit a file, try to delete that file from the file manager. It will not allow. Why? Because currently you only have access to that file. So nobody else can, or even you cannot do it any other operation unless and until you close the file. So that happens same here. Multiple users cannot have access to the same file. Only one user at a one time. Again, the file system gets crashed. The file system or the hard disk gets crashed. Then it is very difficult to fix them. Security is very important issue here. We cannot hide sensitive information. For example, let's say if you want to hide password. So in a normal file system, we cannot hide a password. Like if we want to do some encryption, we want to hide some sensitive information, we cannot do that. So in the file system, anybody will have access to it and they can see all your confidential information. But in database, we can have security. We can, encrypt the data using some encryption techniques, encryption methods. Efficiency. Initially, the file system is easy to work on when we have less data. But if the file grows, when you keep on trying to add more data, yes, hashing. Hashing can be done in database. Very good, Arbaz. Initially, file system is very simple to operate, but later on when the file grows, it becomes very difficult to improve the efficiency. That means when you try to search, it will take some time, and when you try to do some other operations, because of the file size, it will reduce the time to do that. And again, when you try to build new applications, and which will have some new requirements, so your old file system will not have that capability to deal with the new requirements. But in database, we can work on that. So these are the problems in the file systems. I already gave an example of an Excel file, which is there which can be taken in our college. One is by admin and one is by department. So these are all the problems which can be faced while working with file systems. So to overcome these problems, database was introduced. So let us see. So in spite of the problems, file systems can work in some situations, for example, email folders. However, when large amount of information and the information has been used by many users, a database approach is much more convenient. Okay. So let us see how we can use a database with the help of a software. The software is called as Database Management System. It is used to manage our database. Is anybody having any doubt till here? I hope everything is good. My voice and my slides are going well. Can somebody just confirm? Okay, thank you. So what is a DBMS? So as we know, database is a well-organized collection of data. So before database can be used, the database needs to be stored in a computer. Okay, so that data from a database can be retrieved when required and can be modified when necessary. So we are actually working on a database. That database is somewhere on a system, and to manage our database, we need a software. That software is nothing but database management system, and there are many vendors, many companies have started developing in 1990s their own version of database management system. So, for example, when we were working on cricket table, it was easier to search who was the maximum run scorer, who has scored maximum number of runs, who has scored maximum number of centuries, because that table was small. And we can also manage that data in a small Excel file also, and we can update them whenever is required. But just imagine, can we use that Excel file in case of airline reservation? Do you think can you use an Excel file for reserving flight tickets, for checking the flight status? Do you think that is it possible now in today's world? No, we cannot use an Excel file, or even the airport authorities, they cannot use an Excel file to keep a track of the number of passengers they are going for a particular flight. So that is really difficult. So in that scenario, we need some database that is going to keep a record of all the passengers for the current flight, and cancellation flights, reservation, departure, arrival. All this information can be only available with the help of a database. All right. So Excel is not a good option, but database is required here since the number of people are more, and many people are working in the airline industry, even the agents, even the airport authorities. So many users are trying to access the same database, and all are trying to doing some insertion, updation, deletion, right? The receptionist can can confirm the booking, can allot the seat to the passenger, and the passenger can also cancel the ticket. So many people are trying to access the same database at the same time, and many people are trying to do different operations. So all this is possible only because of a software, and that software we call as a database management system. Okay, so the purpose of a database is to allow a user to store, update, and retrieve data in abstract terms. All right. So here we are going to store, update, and retrieve. So DBMS relieves the user without having to know about exact physical representation of data. So here the normal user, the people who are working in airlines, they are not engineers, or they are not developers, or they are not people like you and me, but they are normal users who don't have knowledge about what is a database and how to run the query, how to fetch the records. So they are not worried about the technicalities of the database, and they don't have to specify any algorithm also for storing and updating and retrieving. So all these difficulties is taken care by the DBMS. All right. So we are going to make the end user use the system in a very efficient, in a very convenient way. Okay. So all these problems, all these technicalities is handled by our DBMS. So let us see the definition of DBMS. A database management system is a large software package that controls the specification, organization, storage, retrieval, and update of data in a database. I hope the definition is clear and understood by everyone. So it controls the specification. That means it takes care of your data structure, your tables, your columns, your metadata, and the format and everything. And organization, how you create tables, how you manage the relationship. Storage is how you're going to store the data on the database, how you're going to fetch that information, and how you're going to modify the data. So all this is taken care by the database management system. So I hope the definition is clear to all of you. Is there any doubt? Okay. So the database duty or database is to provide DBMS. The role of DBMS is to provide various facilities to different types of users. Now the DBMS provides one or more programming languages to interact with the DBMS. Now to work on DBMS, we need to learn some languages that is called as database languages. So database languages we have to use to communicate with the DBMS. So these languages can include DDL, that is data description language. In data description language, we will be using commands such as create, modify columns, create tables, rename tables, drop tables. These commands we are going to use in DDL. In data manipulation language, we will be using commands such as insert, update, delete, select commands. All right. And we have some extended host languages we will see in detail, and query languages. So when you want to fetch some information using the select command, you have to use in query languages. So SQL, till 1990s, everybody was using their own database. Everybody was developing their own DBMS. But when the relational model was introduced, which is the second chapter, after the introduction of relational model, so all the database were created using the relational model. So SQL became the de facto standard. So everybody were aligned to SQL, and SQL became the norm to work on database. So this is our third chapter on SQL, which we will learn. So what is an example of our SQL command? Let us say I want to fetch the number of players who have scored more than 400 runs. So this is a SQL query. Select the table player. Select the column player from the table best ODI batsman, where the matches is greater than 400. So this is an example of a small SQL command, which is nothing but a database language, and which is going to be given to the DBMS, and this DBMS will convert this command into the instruction, and it will be given to the system. The system will give the answer back. So how are we going to understand this command? Select the column player, and from table. So this is our column. We will study in detail. This is our table, that is from table best ODI batsman, and this is our constraint, or you can say this is our condition. Okay, what is the condition? We want to find the player who has played more than 400 matches. So this is a query condition which will be checked first from the table batsman, and we will find all the list of players. Okay. I hope you have understood this query. Anybody having any doubt? All right. So database system consists of the database, the actual data, and we have a DBMS software that is going to manage the operations of a database. Then we have the DDL and DML commands, which are usually part of the DBMS. And then we have the application programs. Now the application programs can be any front-end applications in our project, or we can use any front-end applications like PHP, you can use Java server pages, you can use JDBC, and any other front-end technologies. This will interact with our database and allow us to do the different operations on database. All right. So can you the top people who are there in the database management system are Microsoft, Oracle, okay, and IBM. So these people are, they are leaders in the database management system, and they are working since last 30 years. So many enterprises are relying on these vendors, Microsoft, Oracle, and IBM. And a very few percent is for open source, and nowadays open source is also in demand. So many people are going for open source also. In open source, we have MySQL, we have MariaDB, we have MongoDB, and also databases. Now let us see the users of a database system. So the database users can be of different types, okay, and we can define their roles. The very first is the database administrator. We also call it as DBA. The DBA is the whole and sole authority of the database in an enterprise. So he has a very important role in a database, and he has very important duties. He has to look after the database of the enterprise, manage them, take a backup and recovery. We will see in detail in the coming slides, and we will see the role of DBA. The second is our database designers. So there are two kinds of database designers. One is the logical database designer. and the second one is the physical database designer. The logical designer job is to identify data and relationships between them without taking into account the software that will be used. Okay, so the logical designer is only concerned about the design, and he does not worries about the software. So he only identifies the data which are required in a system and what are the relationships between those data. Okay, so for example, in our university example, so can you tell me what is the data that will be identified by the database designer? I mean the logical database designer. Can somebody tell me what attributes database designer will take care of? I mean all those attributes which we discussed, right? If you remember in last lecture, the student, the faculties, yes, the academic records, the mark sheet, and the research, all those which we discussed, this will be taken care by the logical database designer. The second one we had is the physical database designer. Now the physical database designer will look at how we can, the database can be best mapped to physical storage so that it can give the best performance. Okay, so the physical designer is most concerned about the storage of the database and what are the access methods, how we can improve the read-write speed of the data. The data, the hard disk also rotates at some speed. So how quickly can we get the data on a large database? So all the performance of database, maintainability and availability and security, all these factors which are not about data but the things which are controlling our database on the operating system, that is taken care by the physical database designer. Then third, we have the system analyst and application programmers. So these people are highly technical users who are going to determine the requirements of the users. So system analyst will develop specifications for application programs. That means he is going to interact with the end user and take the requirements that are what all the attributes which we need and how many tables we require, how many columns we require. This is the job of the system analyst. And application programmers are those people who are going to implement those requirements. Okay, so it's like the system analyst is going to interact with the end users and take the inputs of the designing a database, and the application programmers are going to convert the requirements taken from the end user and work on a database. So the programmers are going to work on the actual database, so where they can test, they can document, and they can maintain everything. Okay. So the programmers can also design some modules in database management system. And next we have the end users. So the end users are the great variety of users, people who are going to use your system, and they will be simply using your database for fetching some records, updation. They are going to use your database for generating reports. For example, how many people have registered on the website. Okay, the end users can be anyone, and they can use your database for taking reports. Somebody will use it daily, somebody will use it weekly, and it depends on the user. Okay, so for example, in a university, the admin people can be your end users, the faculties can be your end users. Okay, the department clerk can be the end users. So all those people who are using your database and who are going to in your day-to-day lives. Okay, so in case of airlines also, the people who are working on the desk, they are the end users. So they have very less knowledge about the database system, and they normally do activities which are repeatedly. So there's like search and report operation. Next we have the naive users and sophisticated users. Okay. Now naive users are some users who are going to use your database continuously for querying and updating. Okay, so they are going to use some kind of queries we can call them as transactions, which are already been programmed and tested. Okay, so they do not need to understand the database, but they are going to perform some predefined activities. Okay, they have some knowledge about database, and they have to do the same thing every day. Okay, so they can be little more intelligent than the end users, and the sophisticated users, they are going to use the SQL commands to run the queries. Okay, so basic difference is end users will only use the front end or the user interface to interact. The naive users are going to run some predefined commands every day, and sophisticated users are those who are going to run SQL queries. I mean, they will be doing little bit of coding to get some reports. Okay, so sophisticated users can be like engineers, scientists, business analysts who are familiar with the database management system. And then last, we have the workers behind the screen. Okay, so these are not classified as database users, but they develop tools for database design. I mean, they are not actually using a database, but they are developing the tools for database design, performance, and graphical interface and data generation. I mean, the people who are working for the betterment of the DBMS, people who are actually developing your database management system, the product of database, they are the people called as workers behind the screen. So normally the people who are developing the database management system, these are categorized as workers behind the screen. So they continuously work to improve the database performance, and they will release new version of database every time. So let us see the advantages of DBMS. So we understood that redundancies, that is repetition of data, and error data, inconsistency means error information can be reduced. Okay, so when we are using file system, we saw that we are having duplicate data, and we also saw that changes made in one file is not same across all the files. So but these problems can be reduced in DBMS. So we can reduce repeating data as well as incorrect data. And we saw that we can give better service to users because many users can access the database at the same time, and they can do multiple operations, different operations. This is not possible with file system. We can also improve the flexibility of the system. There is also improved. The cost of developing and maintaining system is lower. Definitely, when we are working on database, the cost is also very low because we have to create a single database, right? We don't have to create multiple files, but we create a simple database, and the application programs will access the database. So maintenance is also lower. So we can enforce some standards. Okay, we can enforce some rules, and we can enforce some best practices. Okay, from security point of view, integrity point of view, or we can enforce the standards on the database. All right. Security can be applied. Okay, we can define which database or which table can be given access to whom. Okay, so as we saw, we have different kind of users, right? The database administrator will have full permission. The end user will have only limited access. He can only view the data. He cannot update or he cannot delete the data. So we can define the security permissions for different kind of users. And yes, the integrity can be maintained. We can maintain the same data because the data will not be modified by different users, but it can be done with proper mechanism. Okay, so we cannot have the incorrect data in a database if we define proper access control. I mean, we only allow those people who are given privileges. They only can modify data. In that way, we can maintain the integrity. So anytime we access data, we get the right information. Multiple user interface can be provided. Yes, we can give different interface for different kind of users. Like I said, admin will have all the privileges, and end user will have minimum access. And we can also have backup and recovery. Okay, so in case our file system gets crashed, it is very difficult to recover. But in case of database, we can take a monthly backup or weekly backup, and whenever there is a system crash, we can just recover to our last backup taken. and we can also conflicting requirements can be balanced. So if there are requirements which are conflicting each other, we can manage them easily with the help of a DBMS. And the enterprise data model must be developed. Okay, so these are the advantages of using a DBMS.